Welcome back. This is the finale. We're doing the epilogue for The Darkest Files. If you haven't seen the other 4 parts before this, I will have the link in the description. You can go back and watch all of it. It is a very intriguing game. Very depressing, though. We'll be honest. I do want to put a trigger warning out there that this does cover some heavy topics, and there is some strong language, strong graphics. We're referring to the Nazi era and the atrocities that they committed against the Jewish people during World War II. So if that's not something you can handle or are not interested in hearing more, this may not be the right video for you. So we're in the epilogue. So we've already finished 2 cases. We did one with the older man who was murdered because they were looking for his son. And then the second part was a woman that was accused of looting by a jealous friend. So I'm not sure what we're going to be doing in this part.
Hello?
How come Paula is never
Anybody
here?
here?
She's here, but not here like half the time.
The door is locked.
Miss Cutts, we need to talk about the future of this department. We will change the way we are working. And I'm afraid you won't get your own cases anymore.
Can I ask why not?
Why is that?
It has nothing to do with your performance. Are you familiar with the case Peters has
Yes,
been working on?
he did tell me.
The blank suspension's already signed?
Exactly. A witness gave us documents that the SS wanted to destroy just before the end of the war. Unfortunately, or rather fortunately, they did not succeed in burning all of them. These documents prove that certain judges gave blanket acquittals for the killing of camp inmates. Of course, we always knew that the tens of thousands of people who were supposedly shot on the run were in fact systematically murdered. The Nazi state tried to maintain the appearance of legality until the very end. The problem of Auschwitz, you would probably agree, did not begin at the gates of Auschwitz and Birkenau. People had to be brought there, which means there were many, many perpetrators. There was an entire system behind it. With these documents, we could finally succeed in bringing the Auschwitz system to justice. Not only those who actively carried out the killings, or those who gave the orders at the very top, who are either dead or somewhere in South America today, but also those who kept the system running that made it all possible. The desk murderers. We will bring them to justice. Together. That's why I can't give you any more cases. I need everyone to help with this one. We will bring Auschwitz to court.
I fully understand. Thank you for your trust, Mr. Bauer.
Good. Several packages arrived from Poland. These are more lists of the kind Peters found. I asked Paula to put them on your desk.
Speaking of which, where is everybody?
Paula has an appointment. Mr. Peters is at court and Mr. Wohlmuth is visiting relatives in Munich. So it's you and me today. Best you get to work. There is a lot to do.
Oh.
Will do.
Okay. Well, let's start working then. Check the files for Peter's case. We have a big
So,
binder.
What do we have here?
It's not going to be no joke. Okay.
Even more of these, of course.
Okay, so we can see this is signed by Judge Sturm, and it just lists a bunch of prisoners who were supposedly on the run and who the shooters were.
How did you all actually die? How did they kill you?
I don't know. That's a great question.
And
Yep.
here's our good friend.
Now here's a blank one. Or I guess they would just line it up in the typewriter so they can type whatever they need to type.
Another empty one.
But this is a different
Figures.
judge.
That's a new one. Time to
Yeah.
expand the suspect list.
Here's another blank one. That signature is kind of hard to make out.
Wait, this one... I know this one. No.
Is that her dad? Hold on, sir. Is that her dad, George Katz?
Oh, God.
Oh.
I don't know.
Awkward. That's why her dad didn't want her to work there. He was so adamant about not working there because he didn't want her to figure out what they were investigating. And that's why he recommended she go work for his friend who also was a judge signing off on inappropriate stuff. So I have two choices. I can choose to call the father, or we can inform Mr. Bauer. Now, I'm a messy Bessie, so I'm going to save right here. We're going to do a manual save, because if I don't like the option I choose, I might go back. Let's go tell Mr. Bauer first, because not that I want to prosecute the dad, but, sir, I don't know.
Miss Katz,
Mr. Bauer?
what is it?
Yes, my dad is
It's about my dad.
yeah, let's cut to the chase. He's guilty. He's one of the judges that blankly signed off.
The Auschwitz execution files, recovered in 1945 from a burning courthouse in Breslau, proved crucial in establishing Frankfurt's court jurisdiction over the Auschwitz complex. The files contained lists of prisoners shot in 1942 during alleged escape attempts and named 37 members of the SS as the shooters. With their names now known, the prosecution was able to find over 1,500 witnesses whose testimony served to disprove the validity of those files. The first Frankfurt Auschwitz trial began on December 20th, 1963. Over the next 20 months, more than 300 witnesses testified to the daily atrocities of the Auschwitz concentration camp. For many Germans, this was their first in-depth look into the horrifying daily routine of the extermination machinery at Auschwitz. The vast majority of the accused present at the proceedings showed little to no remorse. On August 19th, 1965, over 20 years after the end of World War II, the first Frankfurt Auschwitz trial came to a close. 2 more followed. On July 1st, 1968, a month after the last of the trials, Fritz Bauer was found dead in his apartment in Frankfurt. He was 64.
Okay, so he did have a team of people that helped him. We can't make heaven out of earth, but each of us can do something to prevent it from becoming hell. That's crazy. We had to make a choice, though. And I agree that we made the right one. Her dad's not above being held accountable. And that explains why he was so hysterical. You know, I didn't understand why her dad kept pushing her to quit that job. He would say he was proud, but then he would say, "Are you sure you don't want to get another job somewhere else?" It's like, yeah, you don't want me to figure out that you were part of it too. This is a really interesting game, and I'm actually really grateful that I played. I'm so glad that they were highlighted at the Gamescom, which takes place in Germany, so maybe that's why I'm talking about the atrocities, because we can't let this happen again. If we don't learn from history, we'll repeat history. So we needed to know that people following orders committed atrocities against people who were innocent. As we saw with the first two cases, the old man wasn't even the person they were supposed to arrest. It was his son that was accused of treason, and then the girl was falsely accused of looting by a jealous friend. So it's like people took advantage of the rules, knowing how strict and crazy they were, just to hurt people. And I don't believe that Fritz Bauer just died. I mean, he was 64, sure, but that's not really that old. It's like he probably was murdered by people who didn't like that he was doing all these trials. And it's like, but you guys need to be held accountable. If you don't want to do the time, then don't do the crime. It's like, that's not my fault that you were killing people and lying and saying they were trying to run away. And even if they were trying to run away, that's the truth. You know, they were running away because you were treating them horribly in Auschwitz and other concentration camps. I think there were 2 others that were also active around the same time. And so it's like, that's wild, you know? So I definitely recommend that everyone at least watch someone play through this game, because it's heavy and it's difficult and it's dark. It's definitely a dark subject, but it's something that needs to be talked about. Not talking about it and sweeping it under the rug doesn't make it go away. It doesn't change what happened. And it takes away the power from the people who were brave enough to try these cases, to testify in these matters, to research into the politics and figure out what really happened. You know, people worked really hard on this. You know, Bauer and his team, all the people who were brave enough to testify. I mean, they said they had 300 witnesses at the Frankfurt Auschwitz trial. That's 300 people who had to relive something 20 years prior and talk about it in front of a court, knowing that it would be public record, knowing that their names would be public record, you know, and that their families are at risk. As you saw in the second case with the looter, the mother, Teresa, didn't even want to testify because she was tired of getting threatening notes and bricks through her window just for having asked for this case to be reopened about her daughter. So, you know, it's a shame, but people were using fear tactics and intimidation to try to stop people from being a witness, from speaking up. That's not right either. People have the right to talk about what's being done to them or to their family members and seek justice. You know, it's a shame what people will do under the guise of, it wasn't my fault. Every case was the same. They kept blaming someone else. It wasn't my fault. I was just following orders. That's what we were all told to do. It's like, you have autonomy in this situation, though. You don't have to go along with something just because everyone else is going along with it. You know that old saying, if your friends jump off a bridge, would you jump off too? It's like, no. You better have common sense and be like, hey, I don't care what these other people are doing. I know this is not right, and I'm not going to do it. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. That's just the truth of the matter. That was really interesting. And I don't think I'll play again, but I'm glad that I took a chance on this game. I would definitely recommend you get it on Steam, play through it yourself. And I want to know, I'm really curious how many people chose to notify the dad first. That's a hard position to be put in for Katz. She obviously loves her dad. She's a lawyer just like her dad was. You know, she was close to her family. They called her all the time. You know, this and that. So, but I think she would have had the right idea. And justice is supposed to be blind. So, you do what you have to do. Regardless. Now, I'm going to go back to what I saved. I wonder if it will let me go back and make the other choice. I just want to see what the other choice would have been. Not saying... Sorry, where am I? Yeah, you have to decide. Do you want to call the dad or do you want to call Bauer? I want to go back and see, would it have made a difference if I called the dad instead? But my first choice was to tell Brower. That's how I feel in real life. Regardless of that being her dad, he committed atrocities, and it explains his behavior, why he was so adamant for her to quit the job and go work for that other law firm with his friend, who was also a judge, who also signed off on the same atrocities. So his behavior now makes a little bit more sense. But I'm curious what, if anything, the dad will say to excuse it. So I just want to see what the other option is.
Do I really want to warn Dad? He was clearly involved in these crimes, but he's also my
We're
father.
going to call him.
I need to speak to Dad.
Cuts.
Dad.
The Auschwitz execution files, recovered in 1945 from a burning courthouse in Breslau, proved crucial in establishing Frankfurt's court jurisdiction over the Auschwitz complex. The files contained lists of prisoners shot in 1942 during alleged escape attempts and named 37 members of the SS as the shooters. With their names now known, the prosecution was able to find over 1,500 witnesses whose testimony served to disprove the validity of those files. The first Frankfurt Auschwitz trial began on December 20th, 1963. Over the next 20 months, more than 300 witnesses testified to the daily atrocities of the Auschwitz concentration camp. For many Germans, this was their first in-depth look into the horrifying daily routine of the extermination machinery at Auschwitz. The vast majority of the accused present at the proceedings showed little to no remorse. On August 19, 1965, over 20 years after the end of World War II, the first Frankfurt Auschwitz trial came to a close. 2 more followed. On July 1st, 1968, a month after the last of the trials, Fritz Bauer was found dead in his apartment in Frankfurt. He was 64.
Okay, so it didn't make a difference. Even if you warned Dad, it was still going to give you the same cutscene. Okay, I just was curious. I'm just nosing. But it is crazy that they killed him after the trials. Like, so y'all didn't want to do that beforehand? I guess because that would look suspicious. I don't know. But let me know what you thought of the game overall. And I hope there's more games like this to come out, talking about the same era, but also other atrocities that just happen in the world over time. Because there's a lot of things that happen nationwide and also worldwide that never really get discussed on a global scale. And so I'm glad this game is bringing awareness to something that most people are just not thinking about or weren't aware of, especially the younger generations who may or may not have learned this in school. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. And I thoroughly, even though it was a very hard subject to get through, I thoroughly enjoyed the Darkest Files, and it definitely taught me a lot about history.